we're at the end of another format, and there are no upcoming major tournaments this weekend, at least not open ones. If you did qualify for the top 32 of the seasonal tournament, congratulations. But for the rest of you, as far as I could find, there isn't anything to enter, and being that we start a new meta next week when the new set drops, there's really nothing to prepare you for. So what are we going to do in this tournament, Tactician? We're going to talk about the seasonal tournament, both the top 32 of the North America, what they played to get there, but I also just kind of want to give my thoughts on the tournament as a whole because I actually have a lot to say about it. So let me start off by saying that I liked the seasonal tournament for the most part, and I don't think a whole lot is going to change going forward, because this isn't really the pinnacle of Legends of Runeterra esports, and it's not supposed to be. It's a marketing tool. And when you think of it like that, a lot of the decisions that they made make a lot more sense. For example, allowing 324 players to qualify through the Gauntlet, expressly saying that the Gauntlet qualification is there for players who are high in skill but don't have a lot of time to play the game. This means that that on top of doing it in one day with 5 rounds, I really don't think that they're looking to up the amount of rounds, up the amount of time that it takes, because they are keeping sort of the more casual player in mind who doesn't have a whole lot of time to commit to Legends of Runeterra. They even give out the consultation prize. I mean, that 3-2 card back, for some people, that's the prize. That's what they were playing for. They're not the most competitive players in the world, but now they have this really cool thing that they can show off to their friends and hold over them and gloat about. You get the icon for entering even. And even the format that they chose to do it in, the Riot format rather than region-locked or unified, it does mean that you get to triple up on a region like Shadow Isle, and for the competitive player, you say, yeah, this is great, I get to play some of the best decks in the format. For the casual player who really only all-in on 2 or 3 regions, they go, oh, I still have 3 decks that I can build to the fullest, because I have every single Shadow Isle card and then a splash of cards from these other regions, so I can go ahead and build 3 decks no problem and still feel good about all of them because I get to run 3 of the decks in the region that I like. And I think this means that we are unlikely to change in terms of how long the tournament takes, because I don't think they're looking to cut the number of players. I think they want this to feel like a tournament that anybody can win. And that's how you keep players engaged. They're saying, hey, log in weekly, daily, play the game, try to grind for top 700 masters, or at the very least log in every couple of days to try and get your prime glory. And as far as a marketing tool goes, honestly, $10,000 every 2 months really isn't that much. I mean, did you really think that a tournament that they're planning to run in client 6 times a year was going to be the peak of Legends of Runeterra esports? Absolutely not. You think about this for more than 10 minutes in any context, and yeah, it all makes sense, right? The reason that it feels so bad is because there's nothing else right now. This is the pinnacle of Legends of Runeterra esports at the moment, and a lot of the better players or the tournament grinders are starting to feel cheated by the fact that they went 4-1. I don't want it to be single elimination. Well, it's not. It's actually Swiss, and that card back is important to some people. So yes, you still have to say that it is a Swiss tournament. Yeah, if you lose once, you're out. I don't think they're going to change that anytime soon because it would require either upping the amount of rounds or reducing the amount of people in the tournament, and accessibility is at the forefront of Riot's mind on this one. You want 1,000 people to enter because you want people to grind and feel like they can get into it even if they don't have a lot of time to play, or if they try really hard for the, your casual player can probably get into the top 700 of Masters. Maybe not hyper casual, but mid casual. And yes, I'm sure Riot's going to take feedback on this, but you have to keep in mind that this is probably what they're looking for. It's just a tournament to entice players to play the game on a monthly basis and not drop off the face of the planet for 6 months or only play when a new set drops. It's nice to have something at the end of the road as well as the beginning, because we always see a spike in Runeterra's viewership when a new set drops and players are really excited for that. You also want it to stay, you want to keep people interested that entire time. And honestly, a 2-month window is a pretty small window in the grand scheme of things. Like, you cannot look me in the eye and tell me that you thought that this 6 times a year in-client tournament that Gauntlet players get to qualify for was going to be the absolute peak. No, absolutely not. Nobody thinks that. But because it's all that we have right now, yeah, I get why it feels bad. But it is what it is for the time being. 6 months from now, when we actually have an esports scene, nobody's even going to think about the seasonal tournament like that. They're going to play in it, they're going to scrub out, they're going to be like, okay, whatever, yeah, I have some major event that I have to prep for in like a month anyway. It's not going to feel nearly as bad. But I do think it means that not a lot is going to change going forward. I think they're pretty happy with the style that they have it in. I mean, obviously, some things are going to change around a little bit, but for the most part, like, accessibility is probably going to stay at the forefront of the mind rather than competitive integrity. And then I did want to finish up by actually talking about the deck list that made it into the top 32 compared to the predictions that I had made on the last tournament Tactician. The things that you'll notice right away is that Anivia and Frostbite really didn't perform as much as I expected them to. Anivia I can understand because it's a deck that takes a longer time, and with the chess clock being implemented as well as the round timers, it's possible that players shied away from the Anivia deck. Frostbite being this low does surprise me though. I really didn't think we were only going to get 2 copies of that. Wraiths even feels a little bit low to me. But for the most part, I mean, I got the top end, right? Go Hard, Shen Fiora, Draven Ezreal. I know I had mentioned that FTR was sort of... I felt like it belonged in there and players were starting to pick up on it more. I really didn't think it was going to match Go Hard. That was also surprising me. I thought it would be closer to the Draven Ezreal numbers. I really didn't expect it to tie for most played deck of the top 32. And actually, I think someone had mentioned that... this Jagged Taskmaster deck that I had put here apparently actually did play Go Hard, and I had just overlooked it because I saw Fizz and Jagged Taskmaster and honestly didn't look at the spells while I was categorizing these lists, so it is possible that Go Hard is at 15. But yeah, this is kind of the breakdown of the decks that made the top 32. As you know, I talk a lot about comfort is king. You need to play what you're comfortable on, and we can see that there's a lot of one-ofs that people might not have expected. Like, this Funsmith control was basically Karina control. It just didn't play Karina. I believe the only units in the deck were Elise, Funsmith, and Commander Ladros. So it's just like a PNZ Shadow Owl control deck. Definitely something that players weren't expecting. Freljord Ezreal, I didn't put Frostbite Ezreal because it actually only played Harsh Winds. There were no Flash Freezes, no Brittle Steels. Played like Avalanche and things like that. You know, Field of Mina, a lot of like Eclipse style decks. You know, we had the Leona Aesol, Demacia, Leona Aesol Ionia, Luxol even. So just Invoke in general was a little bit higher than the 4 of that the Eclipse implies. But yeah, everything sort of, this is how you would have expected it to play out, right? I mean, Wraiths is a little bit lower than expected. FTR is a little higher than expected. But for the most part, this was a predictable meta, and I kind of like that, you know. It is nice that there is room for a lot of other cool strategies to come in, but overall, I mean, this is kind of what we expected, right? And it's nice to know that even if the players that you wanted to make the top 32 didn't, at least the decks that you thought were going to do it did it. So, you know, if you thought these were the best decks to play, you were right. Congratulations. Yeah, I just kind of wanted to show you guys these because there's a Reddit post about it, but it breaks them down by like champions. So the Go Hard decks are like split into like 5 or 6 different categories. So figured I'd just like, you know, compile it for you. That does bring us to the end of the tournament Tactician, though, because, as I had mentioned, no big tournaments this weekend. Really not much to touch on in terms of the meta because everything is ending, and the Zoe spoilers just came out today. I don't like doing spoiler videos. It's not really the kind of content that I go for, but I will be doing a set review once everything is up. I'm not a deck builder, so, like, I don't really get excited about new cards until I see everything in front of me. I'm not going to, like, see one set of spoilers and then go try to build a deck out of it. Like, that's just not what I do. It's not, no. But that does mean that, like, I'll have a wrap-up of the seasonal tournament next weekend. I'll have the spoiler review once we have the full set. And yeah, Tournament Tactician on Friday to help get you prepared for the first tournament of the weekend. Actually, Gems' $500 tournament is going to be on the release weekend of this set. So, you know, Theorycraft, do what you got to do, get in there and get that big prize pool. It's going to be a lot of fun. I'll be casting that as well. So yeah, we'll talk about that more next Tournament Tactician. Until then, my name is Boulevard, and as always, good luck in your tournaments.